Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Silence Whispers Across America. I'm Sammy, and today we're diving into the tangled, heartbreaking story of Ellen Greenberg. It's a story of a young woman who deserved far more than a shrug from the system. A story about how quickly evidence can vanish when assumptions are made too early. And a story about parents who refuse to stop fighting for the truth. Now, if you haven't heard her name before, let me sketch this out for you. A 27-year-old first grade teacher, passionate about her students, making a life in Philadelphia, newly engaged to Sam Goldberg. Ellen grew up in New York, earned her degree from Penn State, then her teaching credentials from Temple and Chestnut Hill. By all accounts, she was exactly the kind of person you'd want teaching your kids. Compassionate, bright, full of empathy. Her story. Well, there are cases where you can feel the ripples spreading outward, how one single event shatters dozens of lives. Ellen's is one of those. Every family I've ever spoken to in these situations lives with this constant wound when answers are still missing. That's what keeps me coming back to cases like Ellen's. And maybe that's what brought you here too. Alright, let's drop you into January 26, 2011. Philadelphia is blanketed by a nor'easter. Snow comes heavy, schools dismiss early, and Ellen heads back to her apartment in Manayunk. It's a normal day, or at least it should have been. She settles in, grades some papers, and waits for her fiancé, Sam Goldberg, who leaves for a workout at the building's gym. Around 6:30 p.m., Sam comes back. He finds the apartment door locked with the inside swing latch engaged. He texts and calls Ellen. No response. He sends increasingly frustrated messages like, "Hello? Open the door." When she doesn't answer, he forces the door open. What he finds is the kind of image that scars you for life. Ellen is collapsed in the kitchen, a knife still lodged in her chest, blood around her. The 911 call that follows has haunted people for years. Sam immediately says she stabbed herself, and at one point she fell on a knife. The dispatcher tells him to start CPR, and he hesitates, asking, "I have to, right?" Panic can make people act strangely, but even from that very first call, the phrasing raises questions that never really went away. The investigation begins and derails almost instantly. Police arrive and almost immediately lean toward suicide. No full crime scene unit work up. The very next day, the apartment is professionally cleaned. Bloodstains scrubbed, surfaces sanitized, and crucially, the chain of evidence broken. To make matters worse, Ellen's fiancé's uncle, Judge James Schwartzman, a well-connected figure, walks into the apartment and removes laptops, phones, credit cards. Devices gone before they were even examined. That's a hole in the record that you can't patch later. The autopsy should have been the turning point. Dr. Marlon Osborne, the assistant medical examiner, finds 20 stab wounds. 8 to the chest, 1 to the scalp, and 10 to the back and neck. He documents 11 bruises, arms, abdomen, legs, at different stages of healing. He rules the case a homicide, but then, within days, that ruling flips to suicide, no clear explanation. Later, Dr. Osborne admits that police pressured him, arguing that the locked door made homicide impossible. For Ellen's parents, it's like a rug ripped out from under them. They learn about the change not from investigators, but from news reports. The family refuses to accept it. They called in many independent experts. Dr. Cyril Wecht says the case is strongly suspicious of homicide. Dr. Henry Lee concludes the wound patterns and blood evidence fit homicide, not suicide. Dr. Lindsay Emery, a neuropathologist, finds evidence one wound to Ellen's spinal column happened after she was already dead. Physiologically impossible if she had done it to herself. Dr. Wayne Ross says the bruises look consistent with repeated blunt trauma not accidents. Piece by piece, their analysis paints a picture that clashes with the official narrative. And let's not forget the locked door argument, the backbone of the suicide ruling. Police said the swing latch was on, nobody else could have entered. But the building manager later admits those latches sometimes swung closed on their own. Security footage shows Sam alone when he forced entry, no guard with him as he claimed. The very foundation of suicide by locked door starts to crumble. Even Dr. Osborne later says that if he had known the latch evidence was shaky, he would never have ruled suicide. For years, Ellen's parents fight tooth and nail. They file lawsuits, petition the courts, push for reclassification. In 2019, they sue the city of Philadelphia, arguing that the medical examiner's ruling must be changed. The city resists, insisting the ruling is final. The case drags on. But in 2025, movement finally comes. The Greenbergs reach a $650,000 settlement with the city, and as part of that, the case will be re-examined. Even bigger, Dr. Osborne, the very medical examiner who once changed the ruling, signs a sworn statement saying he now believes Ellen's death should never have been ruled suicide. However, the Chester County District Attorney's Office, which had been brought in to avoid conflicts of interest, announced that the case would be placed on inactive status. They said the evidence available today doesn't meet the burden of proof for homicide. And in recent developments, the case continues to spark debate. In October 2025, the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office reaffirmed that Ellen's death is officially ruled a suicide, citing no evidence of forced entry and stating she could have inflicted the wounds herself. Her family strongly disputes this conclusion, calling the report deeply flawed and pointing out missing surveillance, unexplained bruises, and forensic inconsistencies. While the case was reopened earlier in 2025 as part of a settlement with the city, the fight for clarity and justice is far from over. Ellen's story remains a stark reminder of how contested evidence and official rulings can leave families searching for answers for years. Meanwhile, this case doesn't just live in courtrooms. It explodes online. A Hulu doc series, Death in Apartment 603. Podcasts, YouTube investigations, FOIA document dumps. It all fuels public pressure. Over 160,000 people signed petitions demanding justice for Ellen. Advocacy in the digital age keeps the case alive in a way the system might have buried. And so here we are, 14 years later. Ellen's parents, Josh and Sandy Greenberg, have spent every ounce of energy making sure their daughter isn't forgotten or mislabeled. They've won some moral victories, but the official record hasn't changed. And as the years pass, the questions only grow louder. How could a young woman with 20 stab wounds, 10 to her chest, 10 to the back of her head, be labeled a suicide? How could evidence so contested leave a family without closure? Ellen's story has become more than a case file. It's a symbol of how justice can stall, how answers can be buried, and how persistence from ordinary people can keep the truth alive. That's it for today's episode. The questions remain and the search continues, because every lost soul deserves answers, and every story deserves to be heard. What are your thoughts? What do you believe happened? Share your voice, because sometimes the smallest detail can spark the biggest breakthrough. I'm Sammy, and this is Beyond the Silence, Whispers Across America. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.